Ms. Kozak, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Biggs, Ranking Member, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of this bill, and thank you to Congressman Hamadeh for introducing it. My name is Kaylee Kozak. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and I am the namesake behind Kaylee's Law. When I was a little girl, telling the truth cost me everything. At 12 years old, a trusted teacher, who was also my club soccer coach, chose to sexually abuse me over a 2-year period. In 2006, that man was originally charged with 8 counts of child sexual abuse classified as a dangerous crime against a child under Arizona law, offenses that carried a potential sentence of 25 years to life in prison. He pled down to 2 counts, served just 9 months in jail, and received 2 terms of lifetime probation in lieu of prison time per his request. A sweetheart plea deal for him that has become a living hell for me. In January 2020, my world came to a halt when I learned that he had petitioned to have his so-called lifetime probation terminated. If it ended, every single safeguard that I had would disappear. 3 weeks later, I stood in court, broken and confused, begging a judge not to grant his motion. This experience exposed a critical flaw in our justice system. A victim's protection is too often tied to and entirely depends on the perpetrator's post-conviction conditions, such as probation or sex offender registry requirements. This is what ignited Kaylee's Law. The abuse itself is horrific, but no one can prepare you for the hell that follows even decades later. Just 2 months ago, in February of 2026, I found myself back in court again for the same reason as 2020. He had again petitioned to have his lifetime probation terminated. Only this time, I witnessed my abuser be served with a lifetime no-contact injunction under Kaylee's Law in Arizona, and I now have permanent lifelong protection. The harm caused by sexual assault is not temporary. It is lifelong, and the protections for those who've been sexually violated should be lifelong too. However, in most states or federally, even when a heinous crime is committed and an individual is convicted, obtaining a protective order requires continued proof, additional court hearings, which ultimately re-victimize and re-traumatize victims. And still, the order remains temporary and limited. There is little to no uniformity across states and federally pertaining to sex crimes definitions, sex offender registry, and probation requirements, or protective orders. If the justice system is going to continue to grant leniency to individuals convicted of sexual offenses, fail to fully enforce SORNA standards, and remove convicted offenders from probation or sex offender registry, which upon conviction are typically the conditions that prevent an offender from having contact with their victim, then the very least it should do is guarantee victims permanent protection from the person who is convicted of sexually violating them. Victims everywhere deserve this protection. And pursuing this law nationally has always been the goal. Kaylee's Law has already passed in multiple states with strong bipartisan support. In Arizona alone, in its first year, more than 1,000 victims obtained a permanent order of protection. Arizona has set the gold standard. It's time for the federal government and every state to follow suit. This is a national crisis. Federal sex crimes have surged more than 62% since 2020. And more than 87% of these end in plea deals with reduced charges and sentencing. Harsh penalties for these crimes are on the books, yet those severe consequences become meaningless when the justice system allows plea deals with drastically reduced sentences for sex offenders, and in the end still leave victims with no protection. Sexual predators do not make mistakes. They make very conscious choices. I have zero sympathy for pedophiles and sex offenders who selfishly choose to sexually violate another innocent human being. The hardships that they face as a result of their choices that they made should never supersede a victim's right to indefinite lifelong protection. The priority should always be protecting victims of these crimes, not offenders who commit them. In 6th grade, at a place where I should have been safe, my elementary school, my teacher pulled me into the equipment room closet. He locked the door, and he molested me until he was sexually satisfied. Then he shoved me out of the side door and sent me back to class as if nothing had happened. In a matter of minutes, my life changed forever by someone who was in a position of trust that was supposed to protect me. And that was just the beginning of the sexual abuse and where my hell on earth began, the hell that I am stuck in. I could not protect myself then, but I can fight to protect myself, other innocent children, and every victim now. And I ask that you fight to protect them too. Please lead the effort and pass this bill. No survivor should have to face their convicted abuser in court repeatedly. And I will never stop fighting for victims and survivors because you still matter. Thank you.
Thank you.